begin by saying it's definitely indeed an honor and a privilege for me to be here today, this morning, even as we are inaugurating a conference on a very valid and important topic, which is to look at the global trends in packaging of foods, pharmaceuticals, and bulk drugs. I'm very proud of the fact that IIP has established its center in Hyderabad, which would be probably the next fastest growing city in India. It is not very long ago, I think it is just probably a couple of weeks ago, that the Minister for Heavy Industries from Andhra Pradesh was in Delhi to receive an award as one of the best industrializing states in India. And even as I was talking to the director, Professor Saha, he was very enthusiastically sharing with me that the vibrancy that he sees in Hyderabad is probably something that he has not seen in and around the other centers of IIP. And that probably didn't refrain me from inviting him to come to Visakhapatnam as well. Because next to Hyderabad, we strongly believe that this is beside my vested interests. It is definitely one of the next fastest growing cities and as an industrialized place, and therefore I think IIPM must look to the south, to the north, and see if they can actually come to Visakhapatnam as well. Let me congratulate IIP on the topic that they have actually identified for the conference today, which is global trends in packaging when it comes to pharmaceutical, bulk drugs, and food. Speakers before me had very eloquently spoken of why it is very important to look at innovations and recent trends in these sectors. We all know for a fact that India is an agrarian-based economy. If we dream to grow at about 8 to 9% in India, definitely we need to ensure that in the agrarian sector, we do secure a growth rate of 4% at least. 65% of our population is still dependent on agriculture. And even as we take pride in the fact that yes, we are probably the rice bowl to the world, the very disturbing fact is, are the farmers really benefiting from what they are actually producing today? We keep hearing, we keep reading, we keep seeing the wastages that happen in agri-produce. It could be the grains, it can be fruits, it could be vegetables as well. If we are to take vegetables and fruits into consideration, it is a proven fact that almost 30 to 40% of the produce when it comes to fruits and vegetables go waste even before they reach the market from the farm itself. There was a great hue and cry when FDI in retail was actually being introduced, when the bill was being introduced in the parliament. There were people who raised the voice against FDI, saying that probably this would adversely impact the agrarian community. But there was the reason that we were trying to put forward as people who brought forth the legislation, that here is probably an opportunity where we could invest in our back-end infrastructure like cold storages, and also bring in technology which is very important for protecting the agri-produce in our country. And when I say bring in technology for protecting the agri-produce in our country, it is simply not the creation of cold storages or the storage facilities for grains and so on, but it could also be technology when it comes to packaging of the agri-produce, which is probably missing the eye of many. Today, the time is ripe for all of us to come together. The teaching faculty, the student fraternity, all of us to put our heads together to find ways and means of converting these ideas into reality. And we look forward to the generation who is sitting before the dais, also the young 14 candidates who had actually received their awards today, that you would bring in the change that India is looking for. We did hear speakers before me speak about the pharmaceutical industry. Today we know for a fact that India is recognized as the pharmacy of the world. Her generics are strong. I have been leading delegations to countries as the Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry to various countries, and very often one of the requests or a couple of the requests from the very many requests that we repetitively hear from other countries is that we want India to support us in agri-processing and in generic medicines, because it makes drugs accessible to those people who are really in dire necessity and need. So here is a whole world of opportunity that we see before you. Even as we speak of globalization, even as we know that global or geographical borders are fast disappearing, the globalization itself is an arena of opportunities and of course challenges. And it is these challenges that we would want IIPM and the students of IIPM to be actually addressing and to avail the loads of opportunities that are available today in an open globalized world. Let me once again congratulate IIPM for their focus on research as well. I was talking to Professor Saha when my pointed question to him was, what is the kind of innovation that is, what is the kind of research that is actually happening in IIP? And he said, no, we are working, I guess you have about 6 to 7 projects already on hand, and of course they're looking forward to more. It is here that probably industry needs to invest in research too. When we look at the amount that is spent on research within our own country, it is about 1% of our GDP that India spends on research. This is, we know for a fact, abysmally low when we compare it to the developed nations where they spend almost 3 to 4% of their GDP on research. But let us not forget that 80% of the 1% that is spent on research in India is public expenditure, which means we need the private sector to step in and to invest in research. And let us not forget that this is an investment that is not going to go in vain, but is going to benefit you and your country. And therefore, IIP must look at probably collaborating with the private sector as well. I know you are doing a lot in that, but probably look at more ways and means of inviting more investments into research itself. And I'm sure all the students who have just received their awards, I should have congratulated them earlier, but I congratulate them now, better late than never. And of course, I would love to see more women actually taking their awards next year.